Oh, it's the spanner's talking.
Dad! Dad!
Oh, what is it?
We've got another one!
What? Following the success of our previous repair, this 2007 Honda Jazz has been dropped off for Matthew and I to take a good look at. Whilst the 2007 Honda Jazz is not up there with the greatest of supercars or luxury cars, it's actually perfectly serviceable transport and deserves our attention. This car has been brought to us with some weird noises when the customer is driving. A quick preliminary inspection has shown that there's definitely something funky going on with the rear brake pads. Let's pull the rear wheels off and have a look.
Towards the front of the car. Perfect.
I think. No. There we go. Something new for you, Matthew. It's the concept of the wheel trim. The plastic cover that goes over the wheel bolts. Most of the cars that we work on around here have got alloy wheels, but not this one. So, can you put the lever bar in, very, very carefully remove the wheel trim.
Good job.
Okay, Matthew, buzz the wheel off. On this side, the brake pad material doesn't look too bad. But on this side, there's almost no pad material left at all.
Agreed.
Okay, undo the caliper, Matthew. And bottom one. Then check the brake sliders. These allow the caliper to slide backwards and forwards, and if they're stuck it will cause the brakes to stick on. I need to retract the piston back into the caliper and find out if it's seized. So as this requires about 37 hands and a bit of experience, I'm going to do this one. As I hope you can see on the video, much to my surprise, the piston is actually going back into the caliper quite easily. I think you can see from here there's quite a big difference between the brake pads from one side to the other. And Matthew is going to clamp off the brake pipe. Unfortunately I don't have any proper brake pipe clamps with me, so we're going to have to use a pair of mole grips. And disconnect the brake pipe.
Wait, which way?
You were right the first time. Stop, stop. All the evidence seems to suggest that this caliper has been seizing at least some of the time, even if it's not completely seized now. I think we better get a new one and some new pads. As always with new parts, we have to check that they match the old ones. It does seem to appear that it will be okay. Looks like I may have found one of the causes of this situation. Whilst we're trying to fit the new caliper, trying to realign the handbrake bolts, they don't line up unless you move the caliper quadrant round. Well, that's not right. That means it's pulling the handbrake on whilst I'm all the time. I'm thinking that somebody has over tightened the handbrake cable. Quite often this is done to compensate for poorly adjusted, poorly bled or poorly set up rear brakes. And so at some point in the past someone has tried to cover up for another issue by just winding the caliper cable up a bit tighter. Unfortunately it has led to this situation where the caliper is seized in the partially on position and excessively worn the brake pads. With the handbrake cable released, I can now refit the bolts that hold the handbrake holder in place. I'm going to clean up the brake caliper carrier to accept the new brake pads. I'm going to put a small amount of copper based grease on the end of the brake pads. I prefer to use a zinc or aluminium based compound, but unfortunately I haven't got any with me and I do have copper. This should stop the ends of the brake pads from seizing in the pad carrier. When I'm refitting the pads and the calipers, I have to make sure that this nipple on the end of the pad fits in this slot, part of the caliper. The new brake pads have gone in the carrier, and I've just checked that they're nice and free and are capable of moving. I've offered up the brake caliper and the piston sits nice on the pad, so we can go ahead and bolt it all up. I can reattach the brake hose. and release the clamp. My young assistant has abandoned me to go off and play Fort Blockcraft or something, so it's left me just to finish up replacing the brake pads on this side, which have gone as straightforwardly as they could really. I've cleaned up the pad carrier, put the pads in with a bit of grease, wound back the brake caliper, and it's ready to go. Bleeding the brakes by yourself isn't much fun, but it's not impossible. And that's this side finished. The handbrake mechanism is hidden underneath the back end of the centre console here, and is very difficult to see, let alone film whilst you're working on it. But I have now adjusted it so there's no free play in the cables, but it's not pulling on them when the handbrake is fully depressed. Set up the torque wrench for 108 Newton meters. I'm just going to torque tighten the wheels. Just the other side to do. With the repairs carried out on a beautiful sunny afternoon and Matthew still off gaming, I thought I'd give the car a quick wash before we went on the all-important road test. Yeah, we're going. Right. Awesome sauce. So Matthew, did you enjoy blowing up aliens and destroying Sleepy Hollows and things?
What do you mean?
Your gaming session.
Yeah.
Yeah, was it good fun?
Yeah, except I don't do that.
And you enjoyed playing with your friends?
Yes.
Well, that is
except I don't blow up Sleepy Hollows and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
More like, say, a Titanic simulator. I'm not kidding.
Okay, alright, okay.
In fact, I'll upload a video of it.
Okay, and you can look out for that on the reputed Rogue 44 YouTube channel. So Matthew, brakes are all done on this. No more silly squealy noises. It's much happier. I must admit the brake pedal is much nicer and the handbrake works a lot better. So, interesting, different one for you today?
Yeah.
What did you think of working on a Honda?
Oh, that. Oh, yeah, it was pretty good. It was pretty good. It was very different from what I've done today. Like, I have to take off the hubcaps before I take off the wheel. I have to take off the hubcap to get to the wheel bolt.
Yep. This is a very different sort of car. So, well, I'm glad you've had fun. I'm glad it's been a bit of different experience for you. Our third job for the garage. We'll have to wait and see what rolls in next. With the Honda now gone, that's the end of our video for this week. We hope you've enjoyed it.
If you enjoyed the video, please make sure to like, subscribe and turn on notifications.
So Matthew, now the driveway is completely empty, we can go out for a drive. What do you reckon?
Yay!
Let's go and enjoy the sunshine!